Welcome back. I hope you were able to solve the challenge. Let's go over it together and I'll give you my solution to it. This is a pretty simple challenge, but it's important that you get it because we have to be able to compile, build, link, and run. Obviously, we don't want any compiler errors. We don't want any compiler warnings. So let's start here. What I've done is I've created a challenge solution project based on the template. And here's my main CPP. It's just a simple hello world. So this is the one I'm going to modify. All right, so let me change a little bit of this. I'm going to get rid of that statement right here, and we'll totally start from scratch. Now remember, we need to include the IOStream library. This is how we do input and output. This is how we do our cins and our couts. So first thing I want to do is I want to prompt the user. I want to say std, 2 colons, and cout. And there's my insertion operator. I'm just going to simply say enter your favorite number between, let's say, 1 to 100. And we'll put a colon there and a semicolon on the end. That will prompt the user. Okay. Now we want to be able to read that number from the user. Remember, when we read something, we need to store it somewhere. So we need to store that in a variable. In this case, it's going to be a whole number, so we're going to use an integer. So I'm just going to say int favorite number, just like we did with that first program we wrote. So that's my favorite number. Perfect. Now I can read into that variable. So I can say std from cin. I want to extract, so I'm using the operator going the other way, into favorite number. Okay, so at this point, I've prompted the user. They've typed in a number. I've read that number, and I've stored that number in this favorite number variable right here. The last thing to do is to print out those two statements. So first I'm going to say cout, and I'll say amazing. That's my favorite number 2. And we'll print a new line here so we can go to the next line. We'll say endel, followed by a semicolon. And this is the only difference now between this program and the one that we wrote previously. We want to be able to display the number. Say, no, really, whatever you entered was or is my favorite number. So in this case, let's do that again. We'll do std, and we'll do again cout, and we're going to write to that stream. And I'll say, no, really. And I'll put a comma here followed by a space because we want this to be spaced out nicely. And I'll show you what the problems may be if you don't do that in a second. And at this point, we're going to insert our favorite number right in here. And we'll do another insertion operator. Remember, we can stream all these things together. We can do as many as we want. And we'll say space is my favorite number. And we'll finish it off with a new line. Let's try that. We'll go up to build, run, and build and execute. We got a clean compile and it's running. Enter your favorite number between 1 and 100. Let's say it's 10. Amazing, that's my favorite number 2. No, really, 10 is my favorite number. Perfect, that's exactly what we wanted to solve. Now, the reason that I put in these little spaces here is because let's say I don't put that space in there, and I don't put the space in here. Just like that. And let's run this again now. You can see that the output's not going to look right. So in this case, let's say I typed in 25. And you can see, amazing, that's my favorite number 2. That's fine. But now look, no really, comma 25, no space between 25 and the little I for, and the lowercase I for is my favorite number. So you can see that the output doesn't really look very nice. So all we're doing is just formatting it. We'll talk more about writing to streams and using manipulators so that we can really get more fine-grained control of what we want this to look like. But for now, we could just put spaces right in here. And we'll try that again. Build and run. My favorite number is 10. No, really, 10 is my favorite number. Perfect. So that's it. And that's the solution to this challenge. As I said, it's a pretty simple challenge, But there's a lot of pieces here that come together. In the next few sections, we'll talk about the structure of the C++ program, as well as variables. We'll talk a lot about variables, how we declare them, how we define them, how we initialize them, and how we use them. But you got a taste of it here.